How we doing, guys? Milo89 here. Welcome back to the channel. Thought I'd share a little update as to what I've been experiencing the last few months in the dream state, and also a pretty mad synchronicity with the number 13, with a book that was sent to me, Book of Prayers, Catholic Christian book, with a lot of Jesus symbolism, and why I know the Book of Revelation script is actually being played out as we currently speak. So prophecy is being fulfilled. Just look around us ever since the great sun in heaven, like I mentioned in one of my presentations. So it's just very interesting with the things that I'm now experiencing as a result of this, and the kind of veil being lifted, which is we're coming into this Halloween period, which obviously is always when the veil's at its thinnest. Granted, on top of that, we are also experiencing a lifting of the veil energetically ever since 2012. So it's like, we're all heading towards this, being able to unlock and access these realms a lot easier. Of course, you still got to do the work in terms of purifying these instruments, these bodies, in order to get you over the line, as it were, consciously in those states. But there's definitely a lot of stuff going on. So I want to go back to, I think 2 months ago, I had a second dream where I was out of body again in my house. This time it was on a full moon. So 2 months prior to that, on the full moon, I think in March or April, I did the video on this. I saw the devil, where I opened up a door and he was there sat on a big golden throne. Well, this time he emerged from the earth, out looking out my window in my house. Huge, great big entity, again, like 5 or 6 stories tall. Exactly how it's depicted the first dream I've seen, and how Hollywood depicts him. Great big red, muscly, bipedal goat legs with great big horns. But this time he was picking up rocks and he was hurling it towards the house. So I knew I had to get down and at the back of the house and wake everyone up to get them underground, which I managed to do successfully. And we were just getting bombarded with these great big boulders that was hurling at us. And it was all quite surreal. Then we went down into this kind of lair, which led us out into the back kind of foyer bit, where we're still indoors. We had these great big screen doors. So it was like our house, but slightly different. And there he was, just in the distance out in the back garden, just kind of pacing back and forth. Again, I was thinking, this is so strange. So we had to go down again, underground, and we came into this great big underground cavern where the floor was full of glass marble, and it's quite slippery. And there he was. He came down through the earth into this cavern where we were, that we went into, and he immediately shapeshifted into this great big red dragon. I was thinking, holy shit. And at the time, I was only with my mother, my father, and myself, and the other people were kind of down again into another little cavern out of harm's way. But we were kind of on this, like, it was like a boss level platform, and he was there and he was breathing fire, and we had these great big umbrellas that were fireproof. And I remember saying to my father, you need to go up real close, distract him. And I had this javelin here, and I was going to chuck it at the dragon as he was breathing fire. So my father went over there and he pulled up this umbrella just as he was about to draw the in-breath to then charge up the fire for him to breathe out. And as he did this, I came running up behind him and just launched this javelin at the dragon, and it literally just tapped him on the nose and fell off. And I was like, oh shit. So as he did that, he breathed fire. My dad was obviously protected with the umbrella up. This was all surreal, like astral, lucid, completely lucid in the astrals. This was going on. It was crazy. He obviously he survived the fire attack, and then as a result of me obviously not wanting to hit the target, I was trying to aim right down his mouth. And such as with some dreams you have, you try and do something with power and force and might, and it just doesn't come off. Like whether you're trying to run away or throw a punch, it's never how you want to, or never how you intend it to happen. So that was very frustrating. So after that, he brought his tail around and just tail around and completely whacked my father, and he just went bang straight into the side of this wall, and he was just unconscious. I think he broke every bone in his body, but he's still alive. And I knew, fuck, I need to get him out of here. So I ran over to him on this glass kind of marble, kind of slipping all over the place, and the dragon was looking right at me, and he was starting to come over at me, but he was slipping as well. So he was trying to get closer and closer, but he was digging his claws in, and so he was making some ground. So I picked up my father, and it's interesting, he immediately shrunk to be like a baby, so I was able to pick him up. And I remember picking him up, turning around and just scrambling for my life to try and get down into this staircase, which led us out of harm's way again, which did happen luckily, and the dragon was getting so close. I was thinking, what the, you know what I mean? This is just insane, this playing out in the astrals. So I went underground and then obviously put him to rest, and people looking after him, tending to him. And I had another group of people that I never recognised before, and we're all walking around through these caverns where all these these people underground were seeking refuge from the devil, and we were all plotting to try and figure out how we're going to bring him down. And so it was kind of like, right, back to the drawing board, and we're going to work out, this is what we're going to do. And we had a plan, and we're going around gathering materials and telling everyone else what we're going to do. And as we were doing this, we can hear him walking, you know, back into his bipedal form again, just stomping the ground and kind of shaking the caverns underneath, and the dust and the dirt coming down. It was weird, because it was like the cavern kind of type earthy caverns laced with immaculate marble and glass floors and ornaments, and like almost these underground cities. It was pretty surreal. Anyway, I woke up after that point, and I was thinking, wow, you know, that's pretty nuts. And it was around a full moon, and I know someone else I was chatting to who had some pretty mad dreams around the full moon as well, and he's been out of body quite a few times. And so around that time, I think it was about 2 months ago, this happened. It was really interesting to kind of just take note of that. So I thought I'd update you guys as to what's going on. And it's interesting because, like I said, the Book of Revelation script seems to be playing out. And so I've encountered this year, and this is bang on. March, I think March 11th this year was bang on when the devil was meant to be returning, or cast out of heaven, so to speak. And what did you know? Obviously, that long presentation I did showcases the kind of build-up over the last year with the coronavirus, with the bat symbolism, and also bending the knee, and the 6 feet, 666, you know, keep 6 feet apart, etc. And also like the devil advert at the end of the year, and this, that, and the other. Otherwise, showcasing that this is playing out. So whatever's, you know, happened in the spirit realms is kind of rippling through into the material realms at the moment. So, you know, pay attention, because, you know, this is playing out whether you like it or not. And I'm seeing all the signs. It's self-evident. Another one, obviously I'm noticing now, because I've been tracking this for this is 6 months, coming up to the 7th new moon now for me this year, in a few days' time. I have recognised the last 6 new moons, like clockwork. I have been approached in the dream state by succubuses, and they have successfully extracted my seed as I have been practicing semen retention. And so this is something now that I can confirm that this is going on as above. They're intercepting me in the dream state, in the astrals. Sometimes I'm conscious, most of the time I am conscious, and most of the time when I'm conscious and I'm with it, I'm able to resist. However, they get to me over that case of a week surrounding the new moon. They end up getting to me, and they end up through whatever they use. It feels like I'm drugged a lot of the time, so I have a lack of self-control. They're able to get to me and extract the seed, and obviously I wake up as above. That happens. I wake up as below, and you know, I wake up with the seed extracted from me. So I'm just like, fuck, you know, I need to really try and work to build up my astrals and really try to, you know, cultivate my energy, which I have been. I don't think I could get any stronger than I am at the moment, with eating right, exercising well, drinking, you know, distilled water, remineralized, and eating organics. So it's just a matter of, I don't know, just trying to cultivate that mental sharpness and strength in order to try and resist this going on. But I'm delving deeper. I'm finding out more clues as to what's happening. And this is what I want to try and do, you know, going forward. So it's just something I've noted that is absolutely being done. And if you understand that these guys, what they've done is obviously hijacked supposedly the kind of lower 4Ds. So they're intercepting souls who aren't able to return back to source. And this is where they obviously set up their shop in order to come in and prey on obviously a lot of the weaker souls, but individuals like myself and other people can get out of body. They're starting to have more power in these realms now, where they can impose their will and stop them from doing all this rape and stuff that's going on there, because it does refract down here and it affects us down here energetically. And this is why a lot of people probably, you know, do feel pretty shit a lot of the time, because what goes on during their sleep, they're unawares of, because they can't remember, and that's the whole name of the game. They do not want you to remember, and so this is why we're a problem, because if we start remembering these things, we can start sharing this, and start gathering strength together, and hopefully combat this fraud and put an end to all this trickery that's going on. But what was interesting as well, I was back in the realm of the dead, which is the lower 4D, and it was exactly how the same frequency and the feeling and certain things that I remember witnessing when I was drawn into the spirit world of the dead, which people claim to be the lower 4D, if you want to describe it that way. When I met a suicide victim around last November, so it was around this time last year, when around Halloween, with veils at its thinnest, I got dragged out of body, and I was there comforting a suicide victim that I used to know, and he just lived up the road, so that was very surreal. And so this time, I think it happened, it was end of last week, so a bit earlier than Halloween, but kind of around a similar time, I was immediately conscious in the dream state, in the astrals, knew exactly where I was. I was like, yeah, I've been here before. This is exactly like that time when I saw the suicide victim. And I looked around me, and everything just reeked more of death. And it was quite interesting. There was a lot of horses going by, and they'll be bleeding out, and there'd be like stuff sticking out of them. They'll have broken legs, and as they're going past, they'll just start dying. And I remember everyone there, otherwise, looked sick, and they looked ill. And I remember having to try and get to a place which is just up the road, which is one of the schools, in order to get to a car, which I needed to go somewhere, and this was all playing out. So I knew I needed to get to that school, but I wasn't allowed to go through the fields because there was all these farmers there telling me I can't go through there. And what was interesting, there's all these machineries, and you've got to be so careful in that realm, because death is the dominant frequency. So there's certain things that are set up there that want to try and lure you into breaking a leg or dying a really gory death. Like I said, going back to when I was pulled out of body to meet the suicide victim, I went into his lounge room, and on the telly there was a rugby match, and I was watching it, and through the rugby match, when we were talking, a guy got decapitated. His head actually fell off, and I was just thinking, oh, that's just gross. But this is the frequency of that domain, and it really does reek of death. Death is the dominant frequency there, so it's more common, it's more occurring, it's literally in every living thing that you see. Like I said, these horses were just trotting past, and they were just bleeding out, and I see them go down the lane, and halfway down the lane they're just killing over because they're dying. So I remember having to go on the road, and I knew the road was dangerous, and the road was tarmacked, and I remember going past this farm, and it was all these black pigs, black animals, black sheep, everything was black, and they're all dead, lying out on the roads, as if like he had a shop front, and he was selling all these dead carcasses. And I remember going past some of these houses, and these people living in these houses knew exactly who I was, and they knew that they were shocked, and they were kind of on the phone, they were panicking, they're running into the house grabbing stuff, and some of the men inside these houses came out with weapons to want to try and basically kill me. And I remember one guy came out with a hammer, and I managed to manifest a hammer in the astral state, pull it out and show him, I've got the same thing, you want to try it, I'm gonna try it, give it back to you tenfold. And he just threw the hammer down in frustration. Then another guy had a javelin, he went to go and try javelin me, and I was just dodging it as I was running to try and get to where I needed to go in the school, just down the lane. So it's pretty surreal. It was mad. Anyway, I ended up on the back of this moped, and I was like, I need to go. And this guy came up to me, and he was like right in my face, and he was like, come on, what are you going to do? And I remember grabbing this pencil and just stabbing it in his head, and it was just sticking out. And like I said, everything is just a lot more gory in that realm, and it was just really surreal. And after that point, I woke up, and I was thinking, wow, that's definitely the realm of the dead. And I remember listening to a few people. I think there was one woman, I forgot her name, I think it's Akura, on YouTube. Apparently was stuck in this dimension for a couple of days. What she describes is exactly what I have found when being in that realm with the dead, so to speak, on 2 occasions. And you do really have, like I said, death, gore seems to be the dominant frequency in those domains. And this is where I think a lot of these guys have set up shop, these demons, these succubuses, and all these astral parasites. This is kind of like their realm, the devil's realm, as it were. But yeah, it's interesting. Hopefully I'll be able to get to probe a little bit more over the coming months, and have a little dig around and search around, because they don't like you being conscious. So when you're in that state, be careful, but know what you're going to do, that you can know that you are all powerful and you can manifest whatever you want and basically get out of harm's way. And obviously, if you're really stuck, ask for or say in the name of Jesus Christ, because this seems to work. Even though Jesus Christ is linked with Lucifer, who's the saviour and the smiter, is kind of playing both roles here inside this giant battery. But from first-hand experience, this seems to work. And I've done this in this very room. This is why I came out of body when I was upstairs asleep. And this is where these entities were. And this is where I saw them walk against the wall and then walk out the front of the house here under Jesus Christ's name, banishing them out of my house. So, you know, they don't like that name. So it works, use it. You know, put aside what you think of Jesus Christ being used, you know, possibly by the dark forces in order to trap many souls into the side of the goods, the positive polarity of this battery. But, you know, it does work. So you can use that as well. Another interesting thing that happened to me, so this is all within like the last 6 weeks, 2 months. I received a book of prayers from an individual who took my course, a customer of mine, and we were back and forth in the emails. He's quite a religious guy, and he said, "I've got a spare Gnostic Bible and a book of prayers. If you want it, you can send it down." I said, "Yeah, absolutely. Send it over. If it's just there collecting dust, send it down. Let's have a look." When I received it, it was interesting. I opened up immediately, and there was a few pages folded over with some inserts. So I just want to share this with you guys. What was folded over was number 13, page 13. And as you can see here, there's kind of like a little message there, which I depicted, which read, you know, sanctification on their way to heaven. So I was thinking that's quite interesting. And you can see here what was put in was Pope Francis waving to the public. And on the backside, we obviously all know when he got brought in was 13th of March 2013. So I was thinking, oh, okay, pay attention here. This is a message. So you've got, you know, page 13 turned over like this. Then you have Pope Francis, which is meant to be the last pope, as prophesied, you know, in this kind of biblical scripture that's being played out, basically this biblical script that's being played out at the moment. 13th of March 2013 is when he was kind of sworn in, as it were. So you've got 13, 13, 13. I was thinking, okay, that's interesting. Pay attention. Flick to the back of the book. So flick to the back of the book. And there, lo and behold, was a little leaflet folded in. And it was right on 13th station. So I was thinking, okay, number 13. And this is all about Jesus is laid in the arms of his blessed mother after he died on the cross, supposedly. Even though there's a lot of evidence to suggest that he had a twin, or like a doppelganger, and it was him rather than the actual Jesus Christ at the time. So I opened this up, and I was thinking, okay, well, we've got 13. Page 13's turned over. We got Pope Francis sworn in on the 13th of March 2013. We got this inserted in the 13th chapter in the book, and I was thinking, what's this all about? So I look at it, and it's calm against living miserably. So it's all about anti-suicide, mental health issues. So I was thinking, right, you're going to be careful. You're going to protect myself a little bit because it could be a trigger. And this is how some of these agents and, you know, demons work in order to try and trigger you to, you know, have a shitty day or, you know, lower your frequency basically. So I looked at the back, and what was interesting, if you see on the back here, you can see a guy wearing a hoodie with Nataz, which is Satan backwards. And then on the bottom, you can see here, little devil, the pitchfork, 666 on the pitchfork, you know, from a heavy metal band basically called Slayer. That's it, Slayer. So this is how the spirit realm works, guys, and this is how synchronicities work. Because as I said this, I went on a walk with my father, and we walked all the way around. I intended to say this to him after, you know, catching up and getting all the other stuff out of the way. As we got to a particular point, and this is why I question whether are we really in control of our own lives and our own choices and the way we're doing things. Because as I mentioned this to him and brought this up, I looked across the road as I was we're walking side by side, looked across the road, and there was the house number 13 staring straight at me as I was bringing this up. And I just got a frequency pitch in my ear. So I was thinking, wow, and I told her, I said, this is going to make it even more mad. I said, look, that's number 13 there. I'm going to tell you a little story, what I received yesterday, day before. And I said, it's all about number 13. I said, wow. And I told him about this. He's like, oh, wow. You know, that's very synchronistic. What it means, no idea. I've got 13. You all know about my extra little crease on my pinky finger, which denotes that I should have an extra knuckle where I don't, which is otherwise linked to a fear kiss, which is the serpent bearer in palmology, because these all represent the signs of the zodiac. And this is fall, so this is Libra, Scorpio, a fear kiss, and Sagittarius, whereas most people, like my left finger, would just have the 3. So I've got a, ever since, noticing this, I've had an affinity with 13. You can see in my tattoo, 13, there's a lot of 13 symbolism here. And, the devil being behind it in the back of this leaflet, that's what I'm picturing, or kind of get the message or download as a little bit of a kind of, maybe trying to shake me a little bit, I don't know. But you gotta always stay open-minded with these things when you get synchronicity such as this, because later on down the line, maybe a week to a few months, you might come across something that will then reconfirm this for you and give you more clarity as to what this means, whatever your synchronicity may be. And just to wrap up, so it's interesting. So I obviously mentioned that Jesus Christ is linked to Lucifer. What it actually says in the book of Revelations here, under the last chapter in the last page, literally says here under chapter 22, verse 16, read it out to you guys. I, Jesus, have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I'm the root and the offspring of David and the bright and morning star. So, we all know what the morning star is linked with. It's linked with Venus, which is linked to Lucifer, which is also linked to Sirius, which are these amphibious so-called androgynas or serpentine false gods that have otherwise, taken us over, usurped the human seed, as it were, with these wars that have been happening up in heaven with Sirius, Pleiades, and then Orion, then us fleeing over here to this system, and them coming over here and destroying Atlantis, which is obviously where the planet was between Mars and Jupiter, then us being picked up, which obviously destroyed Mars, and then we got picked up, our seed, the human Adamic seed got picked up, and now we're planted here on Earth, and we're being, basically managed ever since by these so-called victors of the war that we lost. So we're kind of like maybe captives in a war, slaves to the victors, as it were. But yeah, there's definitely a shift that's happening at the moment, and I just found that quite interesting. If you guys experience the same, like I said before, the book of Revelation seems to be playing out based on what I've experienced, and not only in the astrals, but all the signs with the great sign of heaven back in 2017, what's been going on last year with the coronavirus, second coming of Christ, sign of the Son of the Man, which is Aquarius. It's all playing out. So any time now, up until I think it's September 2024, which is when the 7 years of Great Tribulation ends, it's all up in the air. Anything can happen. And I believe it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. But for me personally, I've overcome my tribulation, and I expect a lot of people during this time are going to be tested. So it's important to whatever entity or experience or event that takes place in your life, any challenges, just stay strong, have faith, and know that if it is playing out, this book of Revelation, then we've got a lot to look forward to that is to come, even though there might be a lot more sinisterness still yet to come before we get to that point. Like I said, always darkest before the dawn, but there's no denying the fact that times are in, and this is very pivotal for each and every one of us to do the work, purify, build up our energies, our astral bodies, auras, and come back into alignment with ourselves, the universe and Mother Earth, and just wait this thing out and just look forward to what is to come, because there's no shadow of a doubt the energies that are pouring in are helping to dismantle this kind of Saturnian grids of these false gods who are just harvesting our energy. Like I said before, every new moon, pay attention. If you are retaining the seed, which you should be, if you're, want to become spiritually adept and build up and preserve your energy, take note. If honestly, like clockwork, the last 6 full new moons that I've experienced, I've been out of body and I've been encountered by succubuses, and they manage to get to me because it's like I'm being drugged up in the astrals. Like they can still vaccinate people up in the astrals, and this is what I've seen in one vision as well, which I shared with you guys. Queuing up, literally people getting vaccinated, and I literally was made conscious before that happened, and I stopped that from happening. So my higher self, my guide, daemon, whatever you want to call it, pulled me into conscious reality in the astrals, and I was able to put that to stop. But I was the only one. Everyone else was queuing up, just mindless, getting jabbed in the astrals, as above, so below. Guarantee everyone who gets jabbed in the astrals first, that would have happened, is getting jabbed down here below. And so you guys, whether you know it or not, if you haven't got, you know, the Jabberwocky, you more than likely have resisted up in the astrals as well, and you're being guided not to get that thing, because that is otherwise apparently detaching people from their souls and their spirit, and is otherwise consent to contract into these entities to harvest their DNA and their soul energy, again, to be sucked into this false matrix that they want to set up as this natural ascension occurs of Earth raising its frequency. So as Earth raises its frequency, it wants to still stay in control, but it has to do it by pulling everyone into another artificial copy of Earth, a simulation 2.0 as it were, in order to keep people again in this 3D dense grid, so they can continue to feed and feast off us, because they're parasites, and this is what they do. So anyway guys, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. As always, let us know if you experience anything similar, whether you've seen the devil actually shapeshift into a dragon. Insane, so surreal. I haven't seen him since, but time will tell. So yeah, always share, like, subscribe, and you know, together we will rise, divided we will fall. So got a lot to look forward to in the coming years, but it might get a bit more grisly before it gets better. All right, peace out, much love.